All right, so you sent me a ton of info on this new D&D starter set,
Uh-huh.
Stormwreck Isle, and I've got to say it looks awesome.
It's pretty cool.
For anyone listening who might not know,
Right.
a D&D starter set is basically a boxed set that has everything you need to start playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
Kind of like a welcome mat to the game. But
Exactly.
this one
This one is different.
is not your typical starter set. Oh, no.
No, no, no.
This one's got dragon battles, island exploration.
Oh, yeah.
You even get pre-made characters so you can jump right into the action.
It's fantastic.
Let's unpack this, shall we?
Absolutely.
What stands out to you right away?
I think what immediately stands out to me is just how this set leans into kind of an epic scale right from the start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So walk me through what's actually in this box.
Well, you've got your adventure book, which is basically the story you'll be playing through,
Mm-hmm.
a rule book that teaches you how to play,
Okay.
pre-made character sheets,
Right.
and a set of dice. Well, they've even included a digital component this time around.
Oh, wow.
So you have access to an online version of the adventure on platforms like D&D Beyond.
So it truly is everything you need to get started.
Everything you need.
Now, we've had starter sets before,
I
right?
have, yeah.
What makes Stormwreck Isle stand out from the pack?
I think the biggest thing is that it's all about the dragons.
Okay.
They're front and center in this adventure.
Right.
We're talking a full-blown conflict between metallic and chromatic dragons.
Hold on. For those of us who haven't memorized the D&D monster manual,
Uh-huh.
remind me.
Sure.
What's the difference between metallic and chromatic dragons again?
So think of it this way.
Okay.
Metallic dragons, like the bronze dragon in this adventure,
Huh?
they're generally seen as good aligned.
Right?
They're often protectors,
Mm-hmm.
wise and powerful.
Okay.
Chromatic dragons, on the other hand,
Yeah.
they tend to be more destructive,
Uh-huh.
driven by greed, power, and chaos.
So classic fantasy villains.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got a good versus evil showdown, but with dragons.
Yeah,
I'm starting to see why you call this epic.
exactly. And at the heart of this conflict is an adult bronze dragon and a blue dragon wormling,
Okay.
which is basically a young dragon.
Interesting. So not just a simple good dragon versus bad dragon scenario.
Right.
There's a bit more nuance here.
Yeah, a bit of a David and Goliath vibe,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so far so good.
yeah,
But what about the actual gameplay?
right.
What can you tell us about the adventure itself?
Well, from what I've gathered, it seems like this starter set is all about giving players and the dungeon master, the person who runs the game,
Right.
a lot of flexibility.
Okay.
There are multiple ways to approach challenges,
Uh-huh.
and the adventure is designed so that the DM can easily adjust the difficulty to suit the player's experience level.
I love that. Keeps things interesting for everybody.
For sure.
Now, you mentioned pre-made characters earlier.
Yeah.
What's the deal with those?
Ugh. The pre-made characters are a great way to just jump into the action without having to spend hours creating your own character from scratch.
Right.
But here's the thing. They've each got these mini side quests woven into the main story.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
So it's not just a generic follow the leader type of adventure.
not at all. These mini side quests are tied to each character's backstory,
Okay.
adding a layer of personalization to the game.
So even though you're playing a pre-made character, you still get to shape their journey.
Exactly.
Make choices that feel meaningful.
Yes. And I think it reflects kind of a growing trend in tabletop RPGs
Uh-huh.
towards more personalized narrative experiences.
I like that.
Yeah.
So walk me through the rules.
Sure.
How complex are we talking here?
So the rulebook in this set is specifically designed to be easy to understand.
Okay.
They've broken down things like character creation,
Hmm.
dice rolling, and task resolution into simple step-by-step explanations.
So even if you've never touched a tabletop RPG before, you should be able to pick it up pretty quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
That's reassuring.
Yeah,
It sounds like they've really thought about making this accessible for newcomers.
for sure.
But what about the Dungeon Master?
Right.
Is there anything in here for them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They've included a whole section dedicated to guiding new dungeon masters through the process of running the game.
Cool.
They offer tips on everything from setting the scene and describing the environment
Okay.
to designing encounters and adjudicating rules.
So it's like a mini DM boot camp.
Exactly.
So even if you've never DM'd before, this set gives you the tools you need to get started.
It does, yeah, and
Lots
that's
of that.
crucial because a good DM is so important
Yeah.
for creating a fun and engaging D&D experience.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got an epic dragon-filled adventure,
Yeah.
flexible gameplay, personalized character quests,
Yeah.
and a rule book designed for both new players and DMs.
It's a great package.
But how does Stormwreck Isle stack up against other starter sets?
Oh,
I mean, hasn't Wizards of the Coast released quite a few over the years?
they have, yeah, and there are definitely some similarities.
Okay.
But I think what distinguishes Stormwreck Isle is its refined focus.
Okay.
For example,
Yeah.
while the Essentials kit is packed with content,
Right.
Stormwreck Isle hones in on creating a smooth entry point for newcomers
Okay.
with its streamlined approach.
So it's less about overwhelming you with options and more about giving you a clear path to jump right in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's just something about the dragon theme, the sheer scale of it all, that feels truly unique.
Right.
You know, you're not just clearing out goblins from a cave,
Yeah.
you're shaping the fate of an island caught in a dragon war.
Mm-hmm.
It's a starter set that doesn't feel like a starter set,
I see what you mean.
if you know what I mean.
I do.
Yeah.
It sounds like they've really managed to capture that sense of wonder and epic scale that D&D is known for.
For sure.
But there's one thing I'm still curious about.
Okay, what's that?
Well, we've talked about the conflict between these dragons.
Right.
What does that actually mean for the players on the ground?
Uh-huh.
What kind of environment are they exploring?
Yeah.
What secrets might they uncover?
Yeah.
What dangers will they face?
That's where things get really interesting,
Okay.
and that's what we'll dive into next.
Okay, consider me hooked. Let's explore this Stormwreck Isle.
Let's do it. So picture the Stormwreck Isle, a volcanic island sculpted by ancient dragon battles. It's got everything a good D&D setting needs: jagged cliffs, hidden coves, maybe even a ruined temple or two, all with that lingering sense of danger and mystery.
Okay, I'm already getting some serious Pirates of the Caribbean meets Game of Thrones vibes here.
Exactly. But what's really cool is that the setting is designed to be adaptable.
Okay.
If your group wants more of a swashbuckling pirate adventure, the Dungeon Master can easily incorporate elements like shipwrecks, buried treasure,
Uh-huh.
maybe even a legendary pirate captain who made a pact with a dragon.
Ooh, I like where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So it's not just a static backdrop. It's a world that can evolve and change based on the player's choices and the DM's creativity.
Precisely. And speaking of choices, let's talk a bit more about those pre-made characters. Remember, they're not just blank slates. They each come with a unique backstory and a set of motivations that can really drive the narrative.
Yeah, you mentioned a human fighter, an elf rogue, a dwarf cleric,
Uh-huh.
a half-orc barbarian, and a tiefling warlock.
Right.
That's a pretty classic D&D party composition.
Yeah, it is.
But what kind of backstories are we talking about? What makes these characters tick?
Well, take the fighter, for example. Maybe they're a young knight seeking to prove their worth,
Okay.
or a seasoned veteran haunted by a past dragon encounter,
Hmm.
or maybe they're driven by a sense of duty to protect their homeland from the chromatic dragon's wrath.
Okay, I can see how that ties into the central conflict of the adventure.
Yeah.
What about the rogue? What kind of shady past might they be hiding?
Ooh, the rogue could be a treasure hunter,
Okay.
lured by rumors of lost dragon hordes. Or perhaps they're seeking revenge against a dragon who wronged their family, or maybe they're just in it for the thrill of the heist,
Yeah.
the challenge of outsmarting a dragon and claiming its riches.
Classic rogue motivations.
Yeah.
And the cleric, what divine mission might they be pursuing amidst all this dragon drama?
Well, clerics are often guided by their faith.
Right.
So perhaps this cleric has received a vision urging them to heal the island's wounds or to broker peace between the warring dragon factions.
Okay.
Or maybe they believe that one of the dragons is a sacred being and they're determined to protect it from harm.
Ooh, that's interesting. So there's potential for some moral ambiguity there.
Definitely.
What about the barbarian and the warlock?
Yeah.
Those are always fun classes to role play.
The barbarian could be a fierce warrior seeking to test their strength against the dragons.
Okay.
Or maybe they're driven by a primal urge to reclaim their lost ancestral home from dragon invaders.
Right.
And the warlock, well, their story's always a bit more mysterious, isn't it?
Yeah, warlocks tend to have some skeletons in their closet or maybe some shadowy patrons whispering in their ear.
Exactly. Perhaps this warlock has made a pact with a powerful entity, maybe even a dragon, and their motives are shrouded in secrecy. Are they seeking to fulfill their end of the bargain, or are they trying to break free from their patron's control?
Ooh, that's some juicy intrigue right there. It sounds like each of these characters has the potential for some really compelling role-playing opportunities.
They do. And the mini side quests are designed to weave those personal stories into the main narrative, giving players a sense of ownership over their characters and their impact on the world.
I like that it's a nice balance between giving players a starting point and allowing them the freedom to shape their own destinies.
Right.
Speaking of shaping destinies,
Mm.
let's talk about the role of the dungeon master in all of this. One of the things that stood out to me about this starter set is its emphasis on making things easy for new DMs.
Yeah. It's a tough job.
Right, because being a dungeon master can seem pretty daunting, especially if you've never done it before.
For sure.
It's like being the director, the storyteller, and the referee all rolled into one.
Exactly. But this starter set does a great job of breaking down the DMing process into manageable steps,
Okay.
offering tips on everything from world building and encounter design to adjudicating rules and pacing the story.
So it's like they're holding your hand through the process,
Yeah.
giving you the confidence
Yeah.
to step into that role and create an awesome experience for your players.
Exactly. And remember, being a good DM isn't about memorizing every rule or creating a perfectly linear story.
Uh-huh.
It's about being flexible, creative, and responsive to your players' actions.
It's more about collaboration and improvisation than dictation, right?
Exactly. The best D&D sessions are the ones that take unexpected turns and allow the players' choices to shape the narrative.
So even if you've never DM'd before, this starter set gives you the tools and guidance you need to embrace the chaos and have fun with it.
Precisely. And that's what makes D&D so special. It's a game that thrives on creativity and collaboration, where everyone at the table contributes to creating a unique and memorable story.
But let's be real for a second.
Okay.
Some people might be hesitant to try D&D because they think it's all about memorizing complex rules and doing a bunch of math.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
How does Stormwreck Isle address that concern?
Well, remember, this is a starter set, so it's designed to ease newcomers into the game without overwhelming them with technicalities.
Okay.
The rulebook focuses on the core mechanics,
Uh-huh.
keeping things simple and straightforward.
So you're not going to be bogged down in obscure rules or complicated calculations right out of the gate.
Nope.
So it's more about storytelling and having fun than number crunching and min-maxing your character stats.
Exactly. The rules are there to provide a framework for the game,
Right.
but they're not meant to be a barrier to entry.
Yeah.
And that's something that this starter set emphasizes. It encourages players and DMs to bend the rules, break the rules, or even ignore the rules altogether if it serves the story and makes the game more fun.
It's about finding that balance between structure and freedom, right?
Precisely. Precisely. And that's where the magic of D&D truly lies. It's a game that allows you to be as creative and imaginative as you want while still providing a framework that keeps things engaging and exciting.
Okay, so we've talked about this setting the characters the rules and the role of the dungeon master.
Right.
But let's bring it back to the listener for a moment.
Okay.
Why should they care about this new starter set? What makes it worth their time and attention?
I think there are a few key reasons why Stormwreck Isle is worth checking out.
Okay.
First, it's incredibly accessible.
Uh-huh.
Whether you're brand new to D&D or a seasoned veteran,
Right.
this set provides a great entry point into the game.
Okay.
The streamlined rules, the pre-made characters, the helpful DM guidance.
Yeah.
It's all designed to make the experience as smooth and enjoyable as possible.
It's like a welcome mat to a world of adventure and imagination.
Yes, exactly. Second, it's incredibly fun.
Okay.
The dragon-themed story is engaging and exciting, and the flexible gameplay allows for endless possibilities.
Right.
You can tailor the adventure to your crew's preferences
Uh-huh.
and create a truly unique and memorable experience.
It's like a choose-your-own-adventure story, but with dragons.
Exactly. And third, it's a great way to connect with others.
Okay.
D&D is inherently a social game.
It is.
And Stormwreck Isle provides a perfect opportunity to gather with friends and family and embark on a shared adventure.
It's like a board game, but a million times more awesome.
Yeah.
Because you get to create your own characters, make meaningful choices, and shape the story with your actions.
Precisely. And that's something truly special, in a world increasingly dominated by screens and digital distractions.
Right.
D&D offers a chance to unplug, connect with others,
Uh-huh.
and engage in a truly imaginative and collaborative experience.
It's like a digital detox for your soul with a side of dragon slaying and treasure hunting.
Exactly. And who wouldn't want that?
Okay, you sold me on the fun and the social aspects.
Oh, okay.
But what about those of us who might be a little intimidated by the prospect of playing D&D?
Yeah.
Maybe we've never played before.
Yeah.
Or maybe we've heard stories about, super hardcore gamers who take it way too seriously.
Oh, yeah.
What advice would you give to those who are hesitant to take the plunge?
I think the most important thing to remember is that D&D is a game, and games are meant to be fun.
Okay.
If you're approaching it with a sense of joy and a willingness to try new things, you're already halfway there.
So don't worry about being perfect or knowing all the rules right away. Just relax, embrace the silliness, and let your imagination run wild.
Exactly. And if you're feeling a little nervous, start with a group of friends who are also new to the game.
Okay?
That way you can all learn and grow together without feeling any pressure to be an expert.
It's like anything else in life.
Yeah,
The more you practice, the better you'll get.
right.
But even if you never become a master tactician or a legendary role player, that's okay. The most important thing is to enjoy the journey.
Precisely. And remember, there are tons of resources available online and in your local community to help you get started.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask questions, seek out advice, and connect with other D&D enthusiasts.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised how welcoming and supportive the community is.
It's like a giant family of nerds all united by their love of dragons, dice, and dungeon crawling.
Exactly. And there's always room for more at the table. But speaking of tables,
Okay.
let's shift gears a bit and talk about the physical components of this starter set.
Okay. Because, let's be honest, part of the appeal of D&D is the tactile experience.
Oh, for sure.
It's about rolling those dice, flipping through those books,
Yeah,
and marking up those character sheets. It's a ritual almost.
absolutely. And in that regard, Stormwreck Isle doesn't disappoint.
Okay.
From what I've seen, the physical components are top-notch.
Right.
The books are well-made,
Uh-huh.
with sturdy covers and clear, easy-to-read text.
Okay.
The character sheets are thick and durable. And the dice are a standard set of polyhedral dice,
Right.
perfect for any D&D game.
So you're not going to be rolling crooked dice or flipping through pages that are falling apart.
No, not at all. Everything seems to be well-crafted and designed to withstand the rigors of regular gameplay.
I'm also curious about the artwork. Is it the same classic fantasy style we're used to seeing in D&D, or have they tried something new?
Well, based on what I've seen, the artwork for Stormwreck Isle is a bit more dynamic and vibrant than some of the older D&D artwork.
Okay.
It's still got that classic fantasy feel,
Right.
but with a more modern edge.
Ooh, that's exciting. I love it when they update the art style. It helps keep things fresh and appealing to new generations of players.
Exactly. And it also reflects the evolving nature of D&D itself.
Mm-hmm.
The game is constantly changing and adapting, and the artwork is a reflection of that.
Okay, so the physical components are a thumbs up.
Yeah.
But we can't forget about the digital component.
Right.
You mentioned that it includes an online version of the adventure on platforms like D&D Beyond. Can you tell us a bit more about that? What features does the digital version offer?
Well, think of it like this. It's like having a virtual dungeon master at your fingertips.
No.
You can track your progress, manage your character sheet, roll dice digitally,
Uh-huh.
and even access all the rules and information you need right there on the platform.
So it's like having a digital toolkit for D&D all in one place.
Exactly. And it's perfect for remote gaming sessions.
Right.
Or for players who prefer a more streamlined and organized approach to gameplay.
So even if your friends are scattered across the globe,
Yeah,
you could still gather around a virtual table and slay some dragons together.
precisely. And it's a testament to how D&D continues to evolve and adapt to the changing landscape of gaming.
So just to recap, we've got a dragon-themed adventure with flexible gameplay, personalized character quests, an easy-to-understand rulebook, high-quality physical components. And the added bonus of a digital platform, it sounds like they've really thought of everything.
They have. And that's what makes Stormwreck Isle such a compelling starter set. It's a package that truly caters to a wide range of players, from those who are brand new to the game to those who have years of experience under their belt.
But for the sake of comparison, how does it stack up against previous D&D starter sets?
Okay.
What makes this one stand out from the crowd?
Well, it's hard to say definitively which starter set is the best because they all have their own strengths and weaknesses.
Sure.
But I think what makes Stormwreck Isle unique is its combination of accessibility,
Okay.
epic scope, and focus on storytelling.
It's like they've taken the best elements of previous starter sets and distilled them into a potent brew of dragon-themed adventure.
Exactly. And it's a brew that's sure to intoxicate a whole new generation of D&D players.
Okay, you've got me convinced. Stormwreck Isle sounds like a blast.
It is.
But before we move on, I have to ask, what makes Stormwreck Isle stand out from the other starter sets?
I think it's the way it balances simplicity with depth.
Okay.
It offers a solid foundation for understanding the core mechanics, yet it leaves room for players and DMs to expand on the story and explore the world in their own way.
So it's like a gateway drug to a wider world of D&D.
Uh-huh.
but it's also a complete and satisfying experience in its own right.
Exactly. And that's what makes it such an exciting addition to the D&D library.
I'm sold. I'm ready to set sail for Stormwreck Isle and face down some dragons.
Sure.
But before we wrap things up,
Okay.
I have one more question for you.
All right, I'm all ears. What's on your mind?
Well, we've talked a lot about the pre-made characters in this starter set.
Right.
They sound awesome.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of each one having their own personal side quests that tie into the main story.
Uh-huh.
But what if I wanted to create my own character from scratch?
Okay.
Is that an option with this set?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Well, the pre-made characters are a great way to jump right into the action.
Right.
The rulebook also provides all the information you need to create your own unique hero.
So I could be a halfling bard who's obsessed with dragon lore, or a gnome wizard who's trying to invent a potion that turns people into dragons.
Precisely. The only limit is your imagination.
And that's what I love about D&D.
Yeah,
It's a game that encourages creativity and self-expression.
it is.
You can be whoever you want to be, and you can tell whatever story you want to tell.
Exactly. And that's why it's captured the hearts and minds of so many people around the world.
Right.
It's a game that transcends age, gender, and background, bringing people together through the power of shared storytelling and imagination.
It's like a universal language spoken in the tongue of dice rolls, character sheets, and epic adventures.
Beautifully put. And that's the magic of D&D, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a game that reminds us that we're all capable of great things, that we can be heroes in our own stories, and that the power of imagination is truly limitless.
Okay, I'm officially hyped for Stormwreck Isle.
Awesome.
I'm already picturing my character.
Oh, yeah.
A swashbuckling rogue with a mysterious past, ready to plunder some dragon hordes and unravel the secrets of this storm-racked island.
Very cool.
But speaking of secrets, there's one burning question I have to ask you.
All right, lay it on me. What's the mystery that's piqued your curiosity?
Well, the sources mention that Stormwreck Isle has been shaped by a long and bloody conflict between metallic and chromatic dragons.
Right.
But they didn't go into much detail about the history of that conflict.
Yeah.
What caused these two factions of dragons to turn against each other? What are they fighting for? And what role do the players play in this epic struggle?
Excellent questions. And those are mysteries that you'll have to uncover as you explore the island and delve deeper into the adventure.
So you're saying there are secrets hidden within secrets,
Oh, yeah.
waiting to be unearthed by those brave enough to venture into the heart of Stormwreck Isle.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that's part of what makes this starter set so compelling. It's not just a simple dungeon crawl or a straightforward quest.
Right.
It's a story steeped in mystery and intrigue, with layers of lore waiting to be peeled back.
It's like an archaeological dig. Yeah. But instead of ancient artifacts, you're unearthing ancient secrets and long-forgotten truths about the dragons who once ruled this island.
Exactly. And who knows what you might discover along the way. Perhaps you'll find clues to the dragon's origins.
Oh, wow.
Or uncover a prophecy that foretells the Isler's fate. Or maybe you'll stumble upon a hidden treasure trove
Okay.
filled with ancient relics and powerful magic items.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. I can't wait to delve into the history of Stormwreck Isle and uncover the secrets of its dragon-filled past. But speaking of history, let's take a step back and talk about the history of D&D starter sets in general. This isn't the first time Wizards of the Coast has released a boxed set designed to introduce new players to the game, right?
You're absolutely right.
What?
D&D starter sets have a long and storied history,
Okay.
dating back to the early days of the game. In fact, many veteran players have fond memories of their first D&D experience,
Yeah.
which often involved a starter set that introduced them to the basic rules and provided a pre-made adventure to get them started.
So it's like a rite of passage for D&D players, a shared experience that binds them together across generations.
Precisely. And each generation has had its own iconic starter set that introduced a new wave of players to the game.
Okay, so what were some of the most popular D&D starter sets from the past?
Okay.
Give us a little history lesson.
Well, one of the earliest and most beloved starter sets was the basic D&D set,
Okay.
released in 1977.
Wait.
This set was designed by the legendary Gary Gygax himself,
Wow.
and it introduced players to a simplified version of the D&D rules, along with a classic adventure called the Keep on the Borderlands.
How to Keep on the Borderlands? I've heard tales of that legendary dungeon.
Oh, yeah.
They say it was a crucible for young adventurers, a proving ground where heroes were forged in the fires of battle.
Exactly. It was a classic dungeon crawl
Yeah.
filled with goblins, orcs, and other monstrous foes, and it was the perfect introduction to the world of D&D
Right.
for countless players who went on to become lifelong fans of the game.
Wow. So that starter set was like the origin story for a whole generation of D&D players.
For sure.
What other classic starter sets are out there?
Well, another popular set was the Dungeons & Dragons Red Box set, released in 1983.
Okay.
This set was designed to be even more accessible than the basic set,
Okay.
and it featured a simplified rule system and a solo adventure that players could complete on their own.
Ah, so this was like the D&D for beginners set, perfect for those who were intimidated by the thought of playing with a group or who wanted to ease into the game at their own pace.
Precisely. And it was a huge success, introducing a whole new generation of players to the joys of D&D.
I love how each starter set reflects the changing times and the evolving tastes of D&D players.
Yeah, me too.
It's like a history of the game told through the lens of these introductory boxes.
Absolutely. And it's a testament to the enduring appeal of D&D, that it's been able to adapt and evolve over the years
Oh?
while still staying true to its core principles of storytelling, imagination, and shared adventure.
Okay, so we've talked about the classic starter sets.
Yeah.
But what about more recent ones? I know there have been a few released in the past decade or so.
You're absolutely right. In recent years, Wizards of the Coast has been releasing new starter sets on a fairly regular basis.
Okay.
Each one designed to appeal to a different audience or to showcase a different aspect of the game. For example, there was the D&D starter set, Lost Mine of Phandelver, which was released in 2014,
Okay.
and quickly became a fan favorite.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
It featured a more narrative-driven adventure and introduced players to the Forgotten Realms setting,
Okay.
which is one of the most popular D&D settings of all time.
Ah, the Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
A classic fantasy setting filled with elves, dwarves, dragons, and magic.
Yeah,
It's like the quintessential D&D world.
exactly. And the Lost Mine of Phandelver adventure was a great way to introduce players to that world,
Right.
with its engaging story, memorable characters, and classic dungeon crawling action.
Okay, so Lost Mine of Phandelver was a hit.
It was.
What other recent starter sets are worth checking out?
Well, there's also the D&D Essentials Kit, which was released in 2019.
Okay.
This set was designed to be even more beginner-friendly than previous sets,
Okay.
and it introduced a new rule variant called Sidekick Rules, which allowed players to team up with a more experienced player who could guide them through the game.
Ah, so it's like having a built-in mentor who can help you learn the ropes and make sure you don't get lost in the dungeon.
Precisely. It's a great way for new players to ease into the game and learn the basics without feeling overwhelmed.
I love how Wizards of the Coast keeps experimenting with new ways to make D&D more accessible and welcoming to new players.
Yeah, they're doing great work.
It shows that they're really committed to growing the community and sharing the joys of D&D with as many people as possible.
Absolutely. And it's one of the things that makes D&D such a special and enduring game. It's constantly evolving, adapting, and finding new ways to connect with players from all walks of life.
Okay, so we've taken a trip down memory lane and explored the history of D&D starter sets. But let's bring it back to Stormwreck Isle for a moment.
Okay.
How does this new starter set fit into that lineage? What makes it unique and special compared to its predecessors?
That's a great question. I think what sets Stormwreck Isle apart is its focus on dragons,
Okay.
its streamlined approach to the rules, and its emphasis on player agency. It's a starter set that doesn't shy away from the epic scope and fantastical elements of D&D,
Right.
but it does so in a way that's still accessible and engaging for new players.
It's like they've taken the best elements of previous starter sets and distilled them into a potent brew of dragon-themed adventure.
Exactly. And it's a brew that's sure to intoxicate a whole new generation of D&D players.
I'm already feeling a little tipsy just thinking about it.
Uh-huh.
But before we get too carried away,
Okay.
there's one burning question I have to ask you.
All right, let's hear it. What's the question that's been gnawing at your mind?
Well, we've talked a lot about the mechanics of Stormwreck Isle,
Mm-hmm.
the rules, the characters, the setting.
Right.
But what about the heart of the story? What's the emotional core that drives the adventure? What are the stakes? What are the players fighting for?
Excellent questions.
Yeah.
And those are questions that you'll have to answer for yourself as you play through the adventure and experience the story firsthand.
Sure.
But I can give you a few hints.
Okay, I'm all ears. Give me a taste of the drama.
Well, as we've discussed, Stormwreck Isle is a place of ancient conflict, a battleground where metallic and chromatic dragons have clashed for centuries.
Right.
But this conflict is more than just a territorial dispute or a struggle for power.
Okay.
It's a battle for the soul of the island, a clash between opposing forces of good and evil.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
Yeah,
So the players are caught in the middle of this epic struggle,
they are.
forced to choose a side and fight for the fate of Stormwreck Isle.
Precisely. And their choices will have consequences. Will they align themselves with the noble metallic dragons and seek to restore balance to the island? Or will they succumb to the temptations of the chromatic dragons and embrace a path of chaos and destruction?
It's like a classic tale of good versus evil, but with dragons and magic.
Right.
I love it.
And it's a story that's ripe with emotional potential.
Right.
The players will face moral dilemmas, forge alliances, and confront their own inner demons as they navigate the treacherous landscape of Stormwreck Isle.
It's a journey of self-discovery disguised as a dragon-slaying adventure.
Exactly. And that's what makes D&D so compelling.
Yeah.
It's a game that allows us to explore our own values, beliefs, and motivations through the lens of fantasy and imagination.
Well, you've given me and everyone listening a lot to think about.
Uh-huh.
This new Stormwreck Isle Starter Set seems like the perfect way to either dive into the world of D&D for the first time
Uh-huh.
or rediscover the magic if you've been away for a while.
Uh-huh.
I know I'm ready to gather some friends, roll some dice, and see what adventures await on that storm-tossed island.
I think that's the perfect note to end on. Remember, the real magic of D&D lies in the stories we create together. So gather your party, choose your adventure, and let the dice roll.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. Okay, I'm ready for those hints. What can you tell me about these dragons?
Well, as you mentioned, bronze dragons are known for their wisdom, their love of justice, and their protective nature. They often act as guardians of the innocent and champions of the righteous blue dragons, on the other hand.
Yeah, the classic baddies.
Right. They're driven by greed, ambition, and a lust for power. They hoard treasure, dominate weaker creatures, and delight in sowing chaos and destruction.
So we've got a classic clash of personalities here.
Absolutely.
The noble protector versus the tyrannical hoarder. But what could have driven these two dragons to such extremes? What's the source of their animosity?
That's the mystery at the heart of Stormwreck Isle. Perhaps there was a past betrayal, a broken pact, or a rivalry over a coveted treasure, or maybe their feud is rooted in a deeper ideological conflict, a clash between opposing philosophies of power and responsibility.
Ooh, I like that. It's not just a personal vendetta, it's a battle for the soul of the island.
Right.
A struggle between two opposing visions of how the world should be.
Precisely. And it's up to the players to decide where they stand in this conflict. Will they side with the bronze dragon and fight for justice and balance, or will they be tempted by the power and riches promised by the blue dragon?
It's a classic choice between the light and the dark,
It is.
but with a dragon-sized twist.
Exactly.
And I love how the age difference between the dragons adds another layer of complexity to the conflict.
Yeah, for sure.
We've got a wise and experienced adult bronze dragon facing off against a young and ambitious blue dragon, Wormling.
Right.
That's a recipe for some dramatic tension.
Absolutely. The wormling, while not yet fully grown, is likely eager to prove itself, to establish its dominance and carve out its own territory. It may be more reckless and impulsive than its older counterpart, willing to take greater risks and resort to more ruthless tactics.
So it's not just a battle of strength.
Right.
It's a battle of wits, a clash between experience and ambition, and the players are caught right in the middle of it all.
Exactly. And their actions will determine the fate of Stormwreck Isle. Will they broker a peace between the warring dragons, or will they fuel the flames of conflict? Will they help the bronze dragon protect the island and its inhabitants, or will they succumb to the blue dragon's temptations and usher in an era of tyranny?
The fate of the island hangs in the balance, and it's all up to the players to decide its destiny. That's some epic level storytelling right there.
It is indeed. And it's a testament to the power of D&D to transport us to worlds of wonder, danger, and endless possibility. It's a game that allows us to explore our own values, confront our own fears, and discover the heroes within ourselves.
Well, you've given me and everyone listening a lot to think about.
Uh-huh. I hope so.
This new Stormwreck Isle Starter Set seems like the perfect way to either dive into the world of D&D for the first time or rediscover the magic if you've been away for a while.
Yeah, I think so too.
I know, I'm ready to gather some friends, roll some dice, and see what adventures await on that storm-tossed island.
That sounds like a plan.
Well, thanks for joining me on this deep dive into Stormwreck Isle.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Until next time, may your adventures be epic, your dice rolls be lucky, and your stories be legendary.